G'day. As I've shown before, I've got a pantograph engraving machine, and I've got a set of brass stencils so that I can produce lettering quite easily. But I also do other things with it too, and so this clip is just a short clip on two ways I've got of making up templates to reproduce, well, what would be called graphics, I guess, today, but pictures, images, and we go from there. So, you know, things like that. In order to use the engraver, I need a pattern to run round. Now, previously I've done this by putting a bit of paper down and then running a stylus around that. This is going to be a little bit different. I've actually got text here which the brand is going to be made of. So what I'm going to do is go around with one of my carving tools and actually take out between those two lines, as you can see, and that will, fingers crossed, give me something that the stylus on the engraver can run around and do the engraving thing. I started out by getting it's actually a reverse image of what I wanted to carve in there, sticking on with some glue, and now I'm just carving through. This is a bit of Tasmanian myrtle. It's a nice firm wood, so nice to carve. And I'll carve that through, and then because of the pantograph reducing that'll come out, you know, quite nicely. I'll lose a lot of these little bumps, but if I'm using timber like this, of course, I can use a bit of filler to just smooth things out and all that sort of stuff. Once I finish carving this, I'll put some wax in the bottom of this just to help the stylus move a little bit more freely, and that'll all be good. Another way to do this too, which was taught to me by Ken Veer, was a bit of old-fashioned carbon paper on there, and then just trace through, and that'll put an ink line of where you want to go. Here, I've just done the sort of the quick and easy way. I'll carve through the paper. I only need a shallow groove just to hold the end of the stylus in place, and that should be good for me. I've just done a pass on this. Before using it, I ran the stylus around the grooves just to make sure that they were not jumping, or they were all, you know, properly arranged, but that's given me a reduction like that, and I don't know, you might be able to see that. So the next stage here is to get a Dremel tool in and relieve away, you know, the outside material, so we just get a solid block left, and that'll, fingers crossed, give the brand that my anonymous client actually wants. One of the first things that I need to do is make up a stencil. I've done these before. This is the one I use on my T8E things. This is PVC, and I've just gone right through here, and then when I come to use it, I clamp it onto the worktop here, and engrave that onto the item I'm looking at. This one I haven't got such an easy road, because the only thing I've got is a paper thing. I got this online from Sniggle Sloth as a piece of clip art. This is actually the one with the watermarking on it, but I did pay the money and get the official one. It's just that by the time I looked at this and worked out it was going to do what I wanted, I'd already marked it up and thought, bother, doesn't matter. So anyway, please do pay for these things if you find them online. It does help people out. Anyway, so I've got this on paper. I'm now going to put that onto a piece of aluminium. The minimum reduction I can do on this particular engraver is 2:1. You can get a 1:1 arm, but 2:1 will reduce it just a little bit, or by half. But it also means that any wiggles and blodges and things that I put in here will come out half size, and I've got a chance of patching those up. Once I've got a metal template that I'm happy with, I can then engrave the real thing. But we'll start with this bit. This is my first pass. The black in the lines is where I wiped off the candle wax. I put candle wax on here to lubricate the tool a little bit, but when I wipe that off it's gone into the lines, which helps with definition. A couple of bits up the top here are a little bit light on, but other than that I'm pretty happy with that. If you have a 3D printer, I guess you can go straight to this stage. If you have the patience to try and program it to do this, you can just program a track in and that should do the same thing, but this is the old school way. I tried engraving direct onto the dispenser, but I got some porosity and pinholes showing up and it didn't really work all that well. So what I'm doing is setting up in this horrible tilt vise, and I'm going to have to basically spot face that out, put an aluminium disc in there and then go from there. So I'll have to do this on this side and this side. This part is curved that way and it's also curved that way. I want to try and get, based on the center of my circle there, I want to try and get this evenly spaced so that, you know, that's the high point. So what I've done, I set up an indicator, and that's on this is a 30 diameter circle. It's not a crosshairs for shooting meerkats. That's about 95 there, and if I run that across to there, I get 95. So basically that point and that point are sort of an equal height. I now need to do that this way, and I'll do that by playing with this, but hopefully what that'll mean is I'll get this particular point so that that point and that point and that point and that point are all, well, they won't necessarily be coplanar, but these two will be coplanar, these two will be coplanar, and they'll both be parallel. That way I can then set up a spot phasing head and take that out. Here's one side, board, faced, counterboard, however you want to call it. Here, as you can see, there's a bit of porosity in there. It hasn't cleaned up all that well, but it's good enough that I can put an aluminium blank in there and then give that a bit of a profiling and engrave that, I think. After all that, I've got my tape dispenser with the recesses cut in it. I may have to go around there with a Dremel just to neaten up some edges there. And I've got my engraved discs with the meerkat on, and they should pop right in there. I'll glue those in with some Loctite 641 and then give this a bit of a coat of paint, and should be just about ready to go. So thanks for watching, see you for the next one.